We've obviously got a big challenge as a world to feed 9 or some people say 10 billion people by 2050. And it's going to take everybody working together, governments, private companies, NGOs. We've all got to find ways to collaborate like we've never done before, I think, to really rise to this challenge.
What we are learning now more and more is that every sector has a role to play, whether it's the public sector, the private sector, the NGOs, the donors, the development agencies.
It's such a complex chain, geographically as well as in terms of subject matter, that nobody has the overview. And then regulating agencies and governments and policies, and they all sort of intermingle as well, and that makes it complicated. In the last couple of years, the private sector has really come to grasp its responsibility about sustainable production. They realize it's not just about profits, and it's not about keeping shareholders happy. It's really about having a license to produce and being acceptable in society and investing in the long term.
So we're talking about infrastructure, we're talking about open markets, we're talking about access to capital, research and development. And until 2 years ago, this was pretty much seen as the realm of government. And now private sector has seen that's also their responsibility. You see much more involvement of the private sector to solve these issues, so both the actual investments as well as creating the enabling environment.
Private sector, I think it's acknowledged today as part of the solution. It's not the problem, which 10 or 15 years ago some people thought it was the problem. Now it's clearly seen as part of the solution.
From a private sector perspective, what we can bring is we can bring solutions to the table, we can bring commercial expertise to the table. We do work directly with farmers, so it's helpful to be able to recognize their needs, invest in the R&D, invest in the solutions, think like a farmer.
We are in the middle of a huge financial and economic crisis. There is a lack of public funding, and we need to support, the financial support I mean, of the private sector. We need the support of private laboratories, private companies. We need the support of private research. Otherwise, we really run the risk of not having the right solutions to this challenge of food security.
I think the major thing that governments need to do is make it easier to use modern science to shape crops to be more nutritious.
Clear regulation, rigorously and even-handedly enforced. But then there are other things that government needs to do. In some cases it's infrastructure, in some cases it's education, extension services. In some cases, yes, there's a role for public sector R&D.
Political commitment to have committed investment in cultural infrastructure, including irrigation. Then they try to invest in technology, and then start investing in market infrastructure, which will help to bring technology from research to far away from the research area, even the mountain area.
I sense a lot more dialogue, a lot more discussion among people. That if we work together can actually create a solution rather than just a tool.
There is still hunger in Africa, still hunger in South Asia. We have not been able to meet this challenge because we relied only on public sector and only on government. I really think that this new strategy that was defined in the framework of the G20, with this very close cooperation between the public sector defining the main strategy and the private sector giving their support to this strategy, is the right one and should change things on the ground.
We are still just scratching the surface of what's possible with science. We have some interesting tools with biotechnology and advanced breeding techniques, but the more we understand what makes a plant tick, the more we can help the plant deliver even more value.
I think information is a very important one, and I'm a great fan of trying to get our information flows better to the consumer. I mean, the consumer should be able to find out where his food comes from, who produces it.
There's also need compromising, because private sector, they want a profit, and the government want to have more equity. Social development, everything. Farmers want to increase the income, but to make it happening, they need compromising.
I think over the last 30 years, from 1975 to 2005, we've seen oversupply on the world market for grains and oilseeds. So nominal prices have stayed pretty constant, but real prices have gone down, and that basically has led to underinvestments in primary agriculture. So underinvestment in terms of productivity growth, underinvestments in applying new technologies focused on efficiency gains, and underinvestments in reducing waste.
We underinvest, we underinvest, we underinvest in the most basic of our human needs, which is food.